Welcome to your next mindfulness video. Today we will be talking about the how skills. This is the next step after the what skills that we have learned last week. So in how skills we will be learning how to practice mindfulness and how do we observe, describe and participate. So the first how skill would be non-judgmentally, which means to accept the moment exactly as it is without evaluating it as good or bad or as right or wrong, and instead focusing on just the facts without adding any element on this. And it is extremely difficult for most of us to do as we live within a very judgmental culture or subcultures, and all of us have judgments of our own. Sometimes we may find ourselves frequently judging ourselves or others around us, and this can impact our mental as well as physical health. And letting go of these judgments can be a powerful way for you to improve your well-being. Things to keep in mind about being non-judgmental is that it does not mean approving or agreeing with everything that you don't like or subscribe to. It does not also mean that you have to keep quiet about your preferences or your desires. You can still have values, you can still have emotions, you can have your own likes and dislikes without being judgmental about it. For example, when I'm trying to be non-judgmental, I wouldn't say that somebody is an awful person and they should not be behaving in the way they do. However, I would say that I don't like this person because of their behavior or because I did not agree with what they said or did. And one more example would be like, rather than calling a vegetable disgusting, something I don't like karela, it's disgusting. Rather than saying that, I could say that I don't prefer the flavor of karela, I'd rather go for something like spinach. This would be some smaller tweaks in which we can sort of change our vocabulary and start saying and talking about things without attaching any value judgment to it. Now let's come to the next skill, which is one mindfully. Now this is a very easy skill to understand. One mindfully basically says that when we are practicing one thing, we should do it one mindfully, that is by letting go of thoughts about the past or about the future, and we refocus our attention and we focus it constantly on what we are doing in this present moment. And once you start practicing this skill, you will notice that there is so little that we end up doing one mindfully. It is one of the most simplistic concepts to give, but mind you, one of the hardest thing to do. Even if you just observe in the way in which you do things, you will notice that even right now possibly you have something else that's going on that you're doing alongside of this, or you might have just finished drafting those few messages or replying to those few people that you had to while watching this video. So what I'm trying to say is, one mindfully is something that we don't practice a lot, but if we try to practice it while doing important stuff, it can be difficult at first because we do not tend to do it at all. But if we keep on doing it, then we may be able to experience any activity in a holistic sense that we might not have experienced before. And that will bring us to the next skill, which is effectively. Effectively is nothing but the practice of doing what is needed in the current moment to achieve your goals in that situation. So we all have been in situations wherein we have been caught in a dilemma of being right and versus getting what we want. A lot of times we are focused on being right rather than effective, and it leads to negative consequences for us, and it gets in the way of us being able to achieve our goals. And here, being effective is about doing what works and not about what is fair or unfair or being right or wrong. So to be effective in a situation, you have to know what you want to get out of this situation and respond to the actual situation and not how you think it should be. So we can start by trying to be open and trying out different solutions and learning from the mistakes rather than constantly playing by our rules. And unlike the mindfulness what skills from last week, mindfulness how skills don't have to be practiced one at a time. They can all be used all together. So let me give you an example. If you are in the middle of a disagreement with somebody, you can practice being non-judgmental with your thoughts and your statements, and you can express and you can sort of refocus your thoughts by doing that. You can also pay attention by being in that conversation one mindfully, and that will help you understand what the person is saying rather than you jumping to conclusions or developing more perceptions and point of views in that situation. You can also practice effectively at the same time by trying to keep up with what are the things that you want out of this conversation, what are your goals, and what is it and in what way do you want to react, so that you keep yourself from losing out on achieving them. So by doing this, we can practice all of these skills together to be able to act better in that situation, to be able to assess that situation better, and also to be able to achieve the most out of the current moment that we are in. And this brings us to the end of this video. So I request you to now go ahead, download your handout and your worksheet, and get on to understanding more about the skill and think of ways in which you're going to practice it in your life.